I wasn't filming, but I was saying such good stuff. Maybe my answers sucked, who knows? Let me try my intro again. Ugh. Okay. What's up guys, my name's Elise, and if you're new, welcome, and if you're returning, I am too. Ever since I started doing this like 1,000 years ago, like a month, you guys have been writing to me and you've written a bunch of different things, random questions to asking about this whole setbacks theme we've been talking about. My favorite non-important question so far has been, which Little Rascals character do I identify with the most and why? I did all of the quizzes on all of the websites. Surprisingly, I was a mix of Alfalfa, Darla, and Froggy. So that was a shame because I really wanted to be Buckwheat. I got $1, I got $1, I got $1. Hey, 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 quick! What's the number for 911? Why are boys such jerks? And the clouds opened up and God said, I hate you, Alpha. What a movie, what a show, what a time to be alive. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, questions, like important ones. Okay, first question. I'd love to know more about what you physically did to heal. I went through a breakup a few months ago and feel as if I'm not over it when I thought I would be. I don't know where to start to heal, I just want to be better. There were so many questions like that, so thank you for writing in, and for those that asked things like that, how do you heal? And for me, it was in 3 different areas. I think that especially from heartbreak, we heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And sometimes we can neglect one or more of those areas and get obsessed with 1 or 2 of those areas. And so for me, physically, when I was in Australia, I made sure that I really was disciplined about exercise, and not because I was trying to lose weight or do like #revenge body thing or anything like that. Just for me, I think that, well, I mean, Elle Wood says it. She says, exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy, and happy people just don't, if you know the end of the quote, she says they don't do bad things, basically. I began to exercise, whether it was running or in the gym with my friend, or definitely took some boxing classes, which helped with some of the aggression. My temptation, more than not, was to sit on the couch and binge watch Netflix and eat all of the chocolate and drink all of the wine. And so when I became disciplined and made the decision that I was gonna be physically healthy and do what I could to do that, actually the emotions started to catch up a little to that. And I'm not one of those people that just like loves exercise and yay, let's go run a marathon on a Saturday morning. Like, no, there's no why would we want to do that when we can sleep. But especially during that season, exercise was really important to start to physically heal. And as I began to exercise and take care of my body, some of the emotional stuff started to heal as well. I talked last week about the fact that I got around my family for a while and I got a really good therapist. I think therapy can sometimes feel like a bad word, but it's not. I think everybody should do therapy. I'm a huge fan. Like, not only for me is it great that I can just like pay someone to like, I can talk for an hour, but if you don't like talking, the coolest thing is that they'll just ask you questions to help you process your process. And then spiritually, that was a big one for me because honestly, the first couple of weeks back in Australia, I didn't want to go to church. I didn't go to church, which may not be weird for you, but for me, a PK and also a pastor, it's like, you should go to church. And I think sometimes we can shame ourselves because we aren't as strong as we thought we would be. And just for the first couple of weeks for me, I couldn't step foot into church. There was too much emotion attached. I still sat on my balcony, and some days I read my Bible, some days I prayed, some days I just put my headphones on and listened to worship music or a podcast. One of the important parts was to get back into church, not because of the service, but because of the community, and because I was telling myself that in the midst of my perspective, I knew every Sunday I was gonna get a different perspective. So yeah, physically I slept, did exercise, and looked after myself. And that wasn't like every day I was like super disciplined. Some days I did just sit on the couch and watch all of the Netflix and eat all of the food. But I made sure after a while that didn't become my norm. We decide what becomes our normal and our discipline in those tough seasons. And then emotionally, I got my butt to therapy. Emotionally, I was around my family. Emotionally, I did some writing to get some of it out. A lot of it doesn't even make sense, but sometimes you just got to get the emotions out. And then spiritually, I didn't run from God. I was angry at him. I was sad in sitting listening to worship music. I was some days very talkative with him. Other days I felt like the Bible was like coming alive as I read it, and then other days I felt like it was dead. But I didn't stop the discipline in those areas just because I was hurting. I think if you want to heal properly, you have to make the decision that in each one of those areas, you're going to put into practice some practicals even when you don't feel like it. Okay, so this person asked, how do you trust God in bad times, especially when you feel like you don't deserve help? How do you trust that he'll work something good when you're in the middle of something really bad? I think the biggest thing is understanding that none of us deserve it. And so when we stop pointing the finger at ourselves, like, I don't deserve help, I'm such a bad person, and realize like none of us deserve help, and God still saved us and he still wants to help us, he still loves us, then it takes the victimness, I think, out of it, if I can say that, because none of us deserve help, and that is grace, that's the gospel. And so we're in it together and God is helping us anyway. What are the top 3 methods you use to center yourself during difficult times? Namaste. My top 3 methods would have to be anything that leads me to God. So like prayer, reading my Bible, going to church, like being around, listening to worship, worshiping God, because if I can get in the presence of God, then I'm centered. I do yoga, namaste, all that kind of thing, not knocking that. I just think we've got to be careful of trying to find spirituality when it's actually more about God, if that makes sense. So one question really stood out to me, and I want to ask it in my own way just to make sure that I can keep her story private, because that's important to me. A girl wrote in and she was dating a guy that broke up with her, and he started dating someone else pretty quickly, and they go to the same church, and she was asking, should I leave church? Should I leave the church I'm at even though I don't want to? Because every time I see him, it's bringing up the pain again, and even if I don't see him, the fear of seeing him feels like it's paralyzing me, and I totally can relate to that. Sometimes we allow ourselves to believe the lie that we should be stronger than we really are, especially in the midst of pain. But I just think sometimes we've got to allow ourselves to be human and not have to keep a brave face when we're breaking. And so sometimes that looks like admitting, I'm not okay. And it is okay if you are not okay. And it's okay if you need to take space. And it's okay if you need to step away for a season from an environment or relationships that aren't helping you move on. I think in order to work through pain, we have to be able to walk away from some triggers. In order to heal, we can't do that by continuing to press on the very point that's broken. And so for me, I went to Australia in order to do at least the first part of my healing away from the obvious everyday things that might trigger my pain. And so when I got back here, I'd already done a little bit of it. That doesn't mean when you walk away from some things, or you get rid of some things, or you take space, that triggers won't come. I remember being in Australia, and I was at a tennis tournament with my dad, the Australian Open, and we were eating fish tacos randomly, and I started crying. And I was so frustrated at myself for getting emotional when eating a type of food, but it triggered a memory for me, which triggered pain. So even when you take yourself away from things, don't get mad at yourself if you're still triggered by other things. Yes, I'm back in LA now, but I took time away. And then when I came back, I have a different life now. I've made some decisions of some relationships and some places that I walked away from in order to be able to continue my healing journey in the new space and the new headspace and the new heart space that I found through my healing. The other thing I would say is walk away from the trigger, but don't walk away from community. And the temptation is to isolate yourself because nobody knows what I'm going through, or everywhere I go is a trigger. And trust me, those early days, it feels like everywhere you go and everything you look at is a trigger. But that's not always like that. Time is really good at healing.